All right. Cool. Good turnout today. I'm excited. I'm going to lean on you guys quite a bit for this one because I'm interested in hearing how you guys view online engagement. I think this topic is a little bit more broad, and so I'm interested to hear what questions and problems and solutions come up. Um, But welcome, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. If this is your first time, or even if it's not, quick refresher. Membership Masterminds is an online community for membership folks. It's free, it's open to anyone. Membership marketing, communication, anyone really in the association space that's interested in the topic that we're speaking about. Um, Friendly reminder, these roundtables are intended to be conversational. So it's really not going to be a presentation on anything. The focus is you guys will come to the table with questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be that you guys want to talk about regarding the specific topic. And even if we get off topic at some point, totally fine. The point is to give everybody a space where they can come together, talk about things that are top of mind for them, and ideally walk away with some solutions or ideas that you can implement in your association. So we are at about 1,000 members, or just over, on our LinkedIn community. So outside of these roundtables, another friendly reminder, we have a LinkedIn page where people can ask questions in between roundtables. This is actually a really good topic for this because that's our like online community that we don't see much engagement in, but we do see a lot of engagement here in these roundtables. So it'll be interesting to see what ideas people have for bring some more engagement and interaction on LinkedIn if that's what you guys want. Um, so yeah, without further ado, oh, I should introduce myself. I'd like to ask this to who's here for the first time today. Go ahead and put in the chat or raise your hand or just come off mute and say me. Hi, Vanessa, welcome. Tracy, awesome. Kelly, cool. Welcome. And then I'm assuming the rest of you have been to a roundtable or two before, so that's great. Um, for those of you who don't know me already, my name is Brittany. I'm the senior marketing manager at PropFuel. Prior to joining the PropFuel team, I held various membership and marketing related roles at healthcare associations in the Chicagoland area. So all these membership topics are very near and dear to my heart. Um, Claire says maybe this is her first time. Yeah, we've been doing this for over a year now. So that means we've done 13 or 14 of them at this point. So exciting stuff. Um, but yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the topic. So today we're talking about online engagement. So that can look for, and with platforms of all sizes, whether it be your learning community, your online community, whatever it may be. So who who's got a question for the group, a topic, a problem that they're hoping to solve? Just gonna pass you guys the mic.
What the hell? I'll go first.
Thanks,
Um,
Jeff. I was gonna be adamant about not saying anything
yeah.
else did, but
So, so we just took the dive to prop fuel, but what had me hanging was we instituted an online community. We're not getting a ton of posts, and I understand it takes a year to get your sea legs to get interaction. And then I thought, are my members even reading the daily digest of the few things that are in there?
Mhm.
And when I looked at the stats, it was like 75% were opening that email. They
They
just
were
weren't,
or were not.
they were.
Okay.
And our open rate for our newsletter is about 65%. So we have a pretty high, but then they don't do anything.
Hmm.
So it confirmed that yes, they are reading what we send them. We signed up for the voter voice platform and did an advocacy thing and had double the response that other state NP groups had seen using the same tool that forever. So that told me they're passive, but if they see something that they really want to engage with, they jump at a much higher rate than I would expect. So I'm just trying to figure out what I need to do to get them to jump more. And I don't think it's me posting messages because I post them and I get crickets.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's a little hard when staff is posting. It's like the seed. Anyone have any thoughts on this? I think one of my main questions would be what encouraged you guys to create the online community and provide that as a benefit? Were you hearing that from members, or was it something that you were like, we think that this might be a good fit for a good addition to what we're already offering?
I think it was a little bit of we thought they needed it. They wanted, we have regional groups, and the regional groups have face-to-face and networking. We had no ability to network at the statewide level.
Hmm.
And so we thought it's a better way to communicate, to let people share questions. Um, I don't think they were standing up with pitchforks saying, we want a community, but we were just trying to give them a way to share and converse easily. And it's working a lot better than the last group I was at. The last group, they weren't even reading their digest emails and nobody would respond. But hopefully someone's got the answer.
Maureen, looks like you got your hand raised.
Yeah, I don't have my hand raised because I have the answer, but I have a question that may lead you to an answer. Do you have someone whose job it is to moderate and manage the community?
Yes, we have a staff of 4.5. So that's me too.
Yeah.
Um,
I-
and
Our
I try
experience with,
to, yeah,
no,
sorry.
please go ahead. Sorry.
No, we, when I took over, my ops director, my number two, had been here for more than 20 years. And she basically was doing everything. And I said, so you mean I can let you do the boring crap I don't want to do and I can run around and cause trouble? And they basically said yes. So if we take on something new, it's my responsibility because um, everybody else has enough to do. And I have enough of a medical background that I can review that stuff and say, ooh, maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. So yes, I'm the guilty party for moderating, trying to spur. I've never had to not approve a message. Every message that's been posted, I've approved. But
Yeah, I would just say that like our experience with our community is it really takes cultivating. It's not a set it and forget it. So our community person and we have the luxury of, having a whole person assigned to that is really working with a user group, working to get content posted, working to make sure that there are people in the wings contributing to the conversation, and that really starts to spur it. So
I will have to say my daughters who are in their 20s were proud of me because I used Canva to create a 2-minute AI narrated video that walked our members through the online community. This is what it looks like. This is how you post. So it was very short, but very easy because I've discovered people don't want to read anything. Nowadays, if it's not in her phone, my middle daughter doesn't care. So at least we had that, hoping to show people how easy it was and what it looked like. And we're getting some clicks on that. So maybe that's breaking the ice a little bit.
That's awesome. Anyone else have any suggestions?
I actually have more of an additional question, so apologies, but this is really for the group. Um, Jeff, you mentioned phone usage, and one of the things that I think might be helpful, but I don't know how this is something we could potentially implement, is a more mobile friendly experience for our online community. We haven't actually, I mean, when you sign on, you still have to sign on like using a web browser. It's not an app per se. And I was wondering if anybody has actually implemented sort of an easier access for this. So whether it's mobile friendly, where people can do those responses on their phone or on the go versus having to physically log into the space, and and also which platform you're currently using, just because I don't know if ours is necessarily mobile friendly at the moment.
So I was quickly looking at mine on my phone. Um, Ours goes through higher logic. And it actually it scrolls real nice. It works really well on the phone. And I love URLs. So to get there, it's just the npacommunity.org. So they don't have to go to the website, hunt and peck for something, and then click here and then click there. And it is single sign in. So if you log in, it uses your same credential that you use for YM that you use for the our LMS. So it's one login for everything, which hopefully just pops up automatically. We did discover that our renewal process through YM is not phone friendly. Little boxes you have to fill in you can't see on your screen. And people are like, it isn't working, it won't take it. And so yeah, fortunately this looks really good on my phone.
But Jeff, do you know if people, if they log on using, but if they're logging on using the web browser, they wouldn't necessarily get notifications via their phone, right? Like they would probably still get notifications of replies or new topics via email that then they would still
Yeah,
have to log on.
yeah, email. But with and the higher logic thing that they use, I've used it several other organizations. If you get the email and you see a conversation, you literally just click on that conversation and you're in to send a reply. It's not too bad. Maybe it's just I'm not we're not asking the right question. We've had a couple things we post and they're hot topics. We'll get three, four, five quick responses and then it dies off.
Go ahead, Dana.
I don't know if this would work for you, Jeff, but one of the things that we do is we actually have it as part of our committee requirements. Like we ask each of our committees to post in our forum. Um, it still doesn't get a lot of reaction to it, but at least we get some more chatter that way for content to be there. So sort of each committee has to have one post a month. So I don't know if that's something you might be able to investigate.
And so we have all new committees starting up this year. That's not a bad idea to push them to do it. I have a little group in there for psych NPs, and I have one representative from each of the seven regions, and that was my hope is that they would each post something, and none of them have posted anything. But maybe committee chairs will be more.
Yeah, I think one of the things we do is like it kind of rotates, like you have each committee member sign up for a month. So
Mm,
it gives them time to think about it. Some of our committees have specific topics. Our membership committee does an interview with a member and they do a member spotlight each month. Our communications committee, they have Wellness Wednesdays. They actually do two posts each month and they just write an article about something they've read to do with wellness for their industry. Our professional development committee, I think they only post like a couple, I think they might do quarterly, but they usually post on education courses that might be available for advancement and like professional advancement. So sometimes if you target it that way, make it a little more structured, sometimes that gives them those rails that sort of guide them to here's what you got to do, here's what we need, and it gives them that little push.
that could work because I think it worked at the last group I was at. Now I'm having a flashback. They had a social media group, all the vascular surgeons who were under the age of 30, all four of them got in a room and it was like Vein Monday, and they alternated. So they knew I had to do the first Monday of the month, and the other one did the second Monday. And I think that got, yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna blame Donna when they don't like it.
Please go right ahead.
But remember to blame her too when they do like it.
Yeah,
And I'll let Jeff take the credit.
Teamwork. Treva?
I was just going to add to that. We have about 20 individual interest forum groups within our community. And so we've created 1 to 2 member facilitators in each one of those. And so they kind of end up running themselves, and they each have their own cadence and flow depending on the topic that they're talking about. I'm in education, but our association's in education, but there might be one about policy, there might be one about play, there might be one about math. And they really take over these interest forms and make them really engaged when you have a great facilitator. So I don't know if you have any members who want to get involved in that way, but it's also a great way to engage them as volunteers in the organization. And a lot of them end up becoming committee members or board members on different things after they've been in this. We call them interest forums as their facilitators.
Love it. Any other comments on this one? Questions? I think one other thing I was thinking about when you all were talking about notifications and just participation in general. Again, I always like to go back to put yourself in your member's shoes. So like, for example, I'm a member of ASAE, and so Collaborate is an online community that I am probably most involved with, and even then, I don't engage as much as I should, and it's simply because it's just not top of mind, right? So like even though I get the daily digests and all of that, eh, things come up, work gets busy, especially if you're working, Jeff, you were mentioning nurses, like something can happen in a split second and catch their attention and then they get distracted and they might not come back to it. Um, so I think finding ways that you can essentially figuring out like what would be most valuable to your members with this online community. So, Jeff, you had mentioned that you guys are jumping onto Prop Fuel. You could use that to ask a question of like, hey, we've got this online community. How would you like to use it to solve problems, ask questions, simply network with people, like figure out how they want to use it and then really cater that to what they tell you. And you might see a little bit more success in how people are engaging with it. Um, and maybe they'll give you some ideas of what they want to see. Maybe they want to do virtual roundtables or something like that as well at some point, or virtual networking, happy hours, whatever it may be. But yeah, I would go back to asking them, like, do you guys have any feedback on how we can make this a beneficial member benefit for you guys?
And maybe I need to re-roll out the whole thing again because we just had a mentorship town hall and one of the mentors said, I wish we had someplace we could share questions with other mentors and mentees.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's called the NPA community. Type in the NPA community, they're there. So they didn't even know
Yeah.
about it. The previous group, their online community, we included it in one of the benefit surveys, and a third of the people said, well, what is this? So they didn't even know what it was. So
Hmm.
this group, I think,
Interesting.
knows, but yeah.
Nice. All right. And then Jeff, I don't know if you saw in the comments, but a couple of folks were asking if you'd be willing to share that video
Oh
because it
yeah.
sounds like they want to do something similar, the Canva video. Cool. If you have the link to that, you can go ahead and drop that in the chat. Otherwise, you can always send it to me too, and we can send it out. I'll put my email in here if you or anyone else wants it. But we'll send a follow-up email to everybody. So if you want to send it my way too, we can include that in there if you're comfortable.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna find it.
All right,
Hey,
Melissa,
I
what's up?
wanted to hop in. Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, no worries. What's up, Harry?
Yeah, Jeff. So be patient. It takes time. We have a listserv community as well. We offer up through Higher Logic. The first year or two, it took some time for members to catch on. But I can say now very proudly, our listservs are probably our number one benefit. We have a leaderboard in which, through Higher Logic, we track participation and we share updates on that in our weekly newsletter that we send out. Not to make it so much competition, but to encourage the other members to get involved, make posts. A key thing with the listserv communities as well, I'm with PMPA, the Precision Machine Products Association. So our association may be a little different from some of yours, but we have set up the listservs and they are topical. We have technical, we have quality, we have HR, IT, training. We have 10 chapters throughout the US. We have chapter listservs as well. So it really it doesn't apply just to our primary contact at the member company, but basically a broad range of different positions within that company to get involved and participate in our listservs. So
Yeah, we have the same one. We have the leaderboard. I set up the badging. And
okay,
you can, so you set your own score for how they earn points.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's probably time for me to pull the top three whatevers and post, congratulations to our silver, whatever. I saw that we could do it based on regions. My hope was that the main one would get so busy that then we would break out into some regional ones and they talk about regional things. We have three breakout groups now, and two of the three are just completely crickets. There's one for diabetes educators. There's one for
yeah,
psych NPs, which gets a little bit of stuff. And then we were running a leadership program and we had a discussion group just for that leadership program and nothing was happening in there. But I guess it doesn't kill me to have forums if
yeah.
they're not in there.
Let me ask you this. You guys have a monthly publication that you put
Yep.
out?
Yep.
Yeah. In our publication, we include an in case you missed it
Mm,
section, and we highlight the top listserv topics from the previous month as well in there. So that could be a good idea for you.
I like that. Worth the
Harry,
price of
there was
admission.
a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just said
Oh, you
worth the
said worth
price
the
of
price.
admission.
Harry, there was a question in the chat for you. How do you score participation? Do you just go with what's already set up in Higher Logic?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We use what they have set up for it. So
Okay, thank you. Um, Melissa, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I think like I don't know how to I don't want to be like a downer on this conversation, but I think we've had similar conversations and sometimes with the online things, people are just need a break from their device, right? Like everything feels like it's online or on your phone or whatever. So we find that actually people want more of what we're doing right now, like the live in person, well, virtual in person. But the live connections, we've had a few members comment about like, it's nice to have that human touch again. So, and not to say like communities are not helpful, but maybe some of the live events to help build the momentum towards it. So I think this membership group is a good example. The LinkedIn forum, again, it's not top of mind. I don't go there, but when you post these things for networking and brainstorming and discussions among humans, yes, like I'll be there, right? Because you can ask your questions, you can get real-time answers. So yeah, not to replace, but maybe to look at how you can supplement with something live as well.
Nice, good feedback.
This is
All
Melissa
right.
as well. I want to
Hi, Melissa.
just I I want to just thank the other Melissa for her comment because it did remind me. I work for the Wisconsin Director of Nursing Council, so we're very small. We have Higher Logic as well. We only have about 650 people as members across just the state of Wisconsin. And every week we do like a live, not recorded phone call, a quick touch base. It's at 7 a.m. on Wednesdays. It started during the pandemic, as a way to relay the constant changes in skilled nursing facilities that were happening during that time. But we've been able to continue it based on a lot of different topics and having guests and things that pop up, and they're about 20 minutes. And, for a small association, we get 150 people every week. And we've been able to bring in a lot of stakeholders as well. So, kind of outside groups or people that have influence in our industry. So other association members, other companies and things like that. And that really has been key to kind of our membership having grown, because I do think they do have that live, routine. I think, we do it every week, but even if it was just monthly, something routine where you could build momentum over time. And then we only do a phone call, so we can't really dictate that it's only membership. We don't require them to sign up. It's just the same constant phone number. So really anybody can get on for us, but that's what works for us. People could do it differently, but then we do during those calls point people to our higher logic discussion board. This topic was on our discussion board, this resource we posted there. And we get a lot of the same people posting questions. So there's like a small group that kind of is active on there. But when I just looked at our downloads, the board was shocked at the number of downloads and people that are quietly using it. So that's something to look at too, because it triggered it because of the scoreboard. The people on the scoreboard were people that don't make posts, but yet they were on the leaderboard. So that's something to look at too. So when you do get your committees to start feeding higher logic, a lot of people then, if you can do different things through emails and maybe what you've missed, also look at your library resources, because we see a lot of quiet engagement that way.
Love it. All right. What other questions do we have?
I'll ask a question. We're getting ready to launch our community. We've had a beta group, and now getting ready to launch it to the full membership. One of the things that has been a part of the conversation with staff is just regarding like what now goes behind the paywall. And I know that that's since this will be new, like having a community space to put resources is going to be new to staff, that we've typically put like things on our website, public facing. So anyone, even if you're not a member, can access it. And so of course in my role, I'm like, everything goes behind the paywall. But just curious as to those who have transitioned to an online community and determining what goes behind the paywall, and specifically what that experience has been like working with staff and getting them used to now having to put certain things that used to be kind of public facing on the website, and getting them used to putting it in the community space.
Any comments, questions? Any questions for clarity? If you could summarize the question in one sentence, Vanessa, what would be like the main thing you're looking to get out?
Yeah, it would just
I mean,
be, how do you convince staff that not everything that we put out there needs to go to the general public and should be safeguard to our members?
My staff are actually leading the charge to put stuff behind the firewall. Our membership has been going down since COVID. Big surprise. Before COVID, you had to be a member to attend any of the regional dinners. And then during COVID, everything loosened up because we just wanted people to have a pulse and renew and get something out of it. And now we're trying to put that cat back in the bag, and it won't go back. I just did a extensive statistical analysis of the bigger event in each region on our state region. And it turns out, you have member and non-member rates. Most of our non-members attending meetings are lapsed members. Lapsed members outnumber non-members at least 2-1. And in one event, lapsed members exceeded the number of members who were there. So now we're going back to the region saying, you got to put some value back in membership. They're making them pay a few dollars more, and they're doing the math and saying, well, if I can do 3 things, spend an extra $10, why do I get a $200 membership? And they're still stuck in this mindset of we need butts and seats. My staff is the one who said we need to start shutting some of this stuff off, put it behind the firewall, put the value behind it. Otherwise, they're not going to be members. So, I mean, you tell your staff, if it's not behind the firewall, why do you become a member? If you don't become a member, why do we need staff?
Jordana, it looks like you had added a comment in the chat. Do you want to speak to that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have sort of like a monthly, essentially with all the teams, our teams are kind of all over the place. So everybody's sort of adding things all the time, but there is sort of like a final check per se. So our director essentially gets sort of like a list of everything that needs to go up on the website, whether it's a resource or an announcement. And she gets sort of the final review, and our team, like for myself, for our student programs, I get the final review on like what goes out that is like general information that's open to everyone, and then the behind the member firewall info. And then we also try to sort of move these things that people do already care about. So, like our scholarship applications and grant applications, for example, are member only resources. On the general front facing side, we let people know that as a member, those are things that you do have access to, but we sort of hard launch all of that information. So the application, any early bird dates, anything like that in our online communities first. And then we then give it access to members sort of in their member resource areas. And so if you wanted to get early access to the schedules or the deadlines or these postings or knowing when there are specific webinars about our grant applications or scholarships, we typically will let members know in sort of the regular newsletters, right? Like, check the member online community for all of these early announcements, and then all announcements that are member only info will be available via this newsletter and in your account, by this date. And so I think that sort of helped. It's a little bit time consuming to do that, but I think it has helped sort of drive that understanding. Like we have a document, we have an SOP that says like, this is general info and this is member only info. But I think because people have gotten so used to putting things out there sort of just to everybody, we're still sort of getting used to putting things behind a typical firewall essentially. And so that's a constant sort of nice reminder that I think over time, as people sort of get used to knowing like, oh, this is a membership thing versus, oh, this is everything that needs to go out to the general public. I think over time we'll probably scale some of those meetings back. But I think in this initial year, it's been really helpful to have that sort of monthly check-in just to make sure people are aware of that.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. That was very helpful.
Sorry to bore you with another story, but when I started with these folks 2 years ago, our newsletter was going to our 2,500 members because it was a benefit. And I said, so if it's a benefit, it theoretically has some monetary value, right? Would you actually pay for our newsletter? And they're like, oh, hell no. It's actually really quick, easy to read. So I said, why don't we open it up to everyone in our database? Because we have half the people who become nurse practitioners in New York. They take a brief course through us. We have all their contacts. So now our newsletter goes to 16,500, not 2,500. It's an easy way to tell our story, to tell them what they get if they become a member. And then we've added ads. And so we're getting about 7,000 a year in ad revenue because we're sending this out to everyone. And it's the easier way to talk to your non-members than send them an email, which they're just going to put in the spam folder and get rid of. So for us, the new guy can walk in and question what's member, what's non-member. Maybe it's worth just taking a step back and saying what really makes sense. If it can serve your business purpose to make it a non-member thing, then maybe you do that. But by the way, we don't allow any non-members into our community. The old group didn't either. We don't allow any industry members in there because then people don't speak freely.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm assuming other people. Does anyone offer an online community for non-members? No. That would be interesting to give non-members a space to connect to see some of the value. But if that's like the main value that they're getting, then why would they join? Why would they pay? Um, but yeah, I think Vanessa, to echo what Jeff had said at the beginning, I do think that there is maybe creating some type of even leaning into like ChatGPT or AI or something to have a conversation about what um, free and public resources versus paid resources for members. So creating some type of SOP or guideline for staff to be like, okay, if it's a one-page thing that takes staff an hour to create, um, and it could encourage like new members to join. It could be used as an acquisition tool. Then let's keep it open to the public. It's more of a thought leadership piece, whatever it may be. If it's something that took staff a significant amount of time and it provides a lot of value to the member, then keep that behind a paywall for non-members and give that to members for free. Again, showing them like the value of that. Um, so it might just be a matter of kind of sitting down and sifting through the resources that you do have and figuring out like what makes sense to keep open to the public and a free piece to all, and what makes sense to what's beneficial and valuable enough to keep behind a paywall, so that members can see again. They can tie monetary value to like that piece itself.
That's
Brittany,
helpful.
one thing we had is we had a
Hmm.
practice guide for New York State, and it was by far our most valuable asset. And
Sure.
pre-community, it was behind a firewall, but a member could download it, share it, put it out to the world.
Hmm.
We discovered that with the online community, we could, or with our learning management system, we could put it in as a view only presentation. Now I had to convert it to PDF slides, which took a week of my life. But as my wife says, what else do you have to do? But we now are using that, and you can look at it. You can't download it, screenshot it, print it. It's added an incredible level of security for our most valuable asset.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good shift. Interesting. So that ties into, oh, okay. So Beth had said we have a Facebook community open to members and non-members. Does anyone use member content as teasers to attract non-members? That's a good point. I'm wondering, Jeff, you said that was a high value piece for you guys. Have you done like clips or condensed versions of it and sent that out to prospects as like an acquisition piece?
The only thing we've done is the table of contents is accessible to all. And
Okay.
when you see that it's extensive and goes on forever, we do that. One thing we did do, Beth, we haven't gone member and non-member, but we've done conference attendee versus non-conference attendee. Is after the meeting is over, everything's available on demand, we sell it. But 6 months after that on demand closes, nobody really cares. I go through, pick out half a dozen of what I think were the best presentations, put them in the community for members to see, watch for free. I haven't gone so far as to share it with non-members, but I've kind of tried to get people to go from I don't attend to the conference to, oh, this is pretty cool stuff. I will attend. And then some of those I put up and I allow a non-member to buy it for $5 for an hour because they're not getting any CE credit. I sold one course once, $5, but at least non-members see it and say, well, there is some value if I join. I suppose, and I do have one or two that we make available to non-members because they're really general, really, really good content, like how to not lose your license and get sued. But
That's important.
I'm curious what kind of member content she's using, because maybe there's something else we can share.
So it looks like Melissa had said that you guys use You do use member content as teasers? Are you comfortable speaking to that? Is Melissa still here? Montgomery?
Yeah, I mean, we just member content, we do it in social media posts. We certainly do it in our weekly phone calls and then in our when we send out newsletters and things like that to non-members. We'll list some of the hot trending topics and things like that. Free webinars that we do for members only, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at ASAE's social media on LinkedIn, they're pretty good about teasing some of that discussion board topic too to get traffic in there. They have some pretty good social media posts that seem to be working well. They certainly attract my attention. So, yeah.
Jeff, this is Beth. To answer your question about the content, the one group that I work with, they have their, I guess their newsletters tied to their, or the content in the newsletter is behind the wall. So, when the member, and they send their newsletter out to both members and former members, non-members, that they have little like teaser articles in it. And so when the member clicks on it to go read the rest of it, it's directed to behind the wall and they get to read the content. But non-members or lapsed members, they get a message that says, want to read more, rejoin or join today. So that's how they're using it as teasers. Is to send them directly to, you've captured your interest, you click on the link, but you don't have access because you're not a member. So that's kind of how they're using it to drive.
ASAE does that in their emails. They link out to other people's content. But ironically, one of the best articles I wanted to read was behind somebody else's firewall, and I couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts or comments on this topic?
I was gonna type it, but it took a bit longer to type. I struggle with this. I'm in healthcare, just to be specific, and maybe it's specific to healthcare. But again, I struggle with withholding, especially educational content from practitioners based on your membership type, only because at the end of the day, we're all patients, and don't you want your physician, your nurse practitioner, your dentist to have access to the best and most up-to-date education regardless of their membership status, right? So is withholding, great educational content affecting patient care? And sort of that's what I struggle with. Although, again, those really good resources are part of member value. We're also a bit unique in that membership with our association is mandated. It's not mandated by us, but it's mandated by the regulatory authorities. So that presents its own set of problems when people feel like they're forced to be with your association. But anyway, just to say, when you're talking about things behind the paywall, at the end of the day, is it having a positive or a negative impact on patient care?
That's something that I deal with a lot because I actually don't work for a, a more traditional 501c6 healthcare association. I manage a professional membership program within the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which is primarily a patient advocacy organization. And what I have found is there's really so much information and so much training that it is a bit overwhelming. And part of the member value that I have tried to cultivate is making it a little bit simpler or more curated. For example, anyone really can go to our website and spend time to dig up all these resources on their own, but I've started creating member packets for different membership segments. Like if you're a clinical pharmacist, these are the specific resources that are most relevant to you. And that's something that I've kind of pressure tested within our member community. And that's that's had some success there. Um, but I also think that that membership is a way of demonstrating your interest in this topic um, and your commitment to these patients. Of course, it's different for us because it's not mandated by the regulatory space. Um, but I think there's probably a maybe skill level delineator at some point that we'll look into where all these kind of more basic fundamental patient care resources are not paywalled, and then some of the more nuanced discussions, of course, in the peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, we would want to keep within the member community.
I'm also in a healthcare field, fairly specialized to hematology and oncology. All of our education is available both to members and non-members, but the fee that you pay for it varies. And per some of our discussion earlier, we tend to have a more significant difference between the member and the non-member rate to encourage membership. But we often find that it's the employer who's paying for the education. And while they might offer reimbursement for the course, they will not offer reimbursement for a membership. So that's where we often struggle to convert some of our non-members to members, is because their employer won't pay that, membership fee. So I don't know if that's something anyone else has experienced.
We just talked about it this past weekend. Nurse practitioners, there seems to be a tendency, we have the same thing, two price tiers. Well, if I become a member, you get a lower rate. But wait, I pay for the membership. My employer pays for the conference. Why am I going to spend my money to save them money? If you go to our state conference, there's $100 difference, which is half of your dues. We invite non-members to become a member at the conference, and we give them that $100 back towards their dues. And we're now going to start doing that with our regional teaching days. There's a $50 difference. And what I think could happen is that segment who has to pay their own dues, but their employer pays for the conference, their employer paid for the conference, but we're going to give you that extra $50 back towards your membership, which is coming out of your pocket. And we're hoping they're going to say, well, wait a minute, now you're saving me money. Now it makes sense. And maybe that will work. At the same time, it convinces our regions to make a bigger price spread. So some people become members on their own. But that's the thing we're going to try, is to give them that difference back if they join before the conference.
Thank you. We'll try to do that. We, obviously have the join now, get your discount on the conference. But that's a good point. If we flip it, then it's the member who benefits from that savings.
Yeah, and we're not going to flip it until after they register, because some people are fine with that initial proposition. It's a four square grid of who pays for what. And those
Yeah.
people in the last thing, and then that's going to be a personalized email after the fact, and we'll see if it works.
All right, we got a couple of things, a couple of chats going on here. If you guys want to take a minute to take a look at that. Any other comments on this topic? I do like, Beth, the comment on the membership allows you to, and I don't know if this is exactly where you're going, but the membership dollars, I think that's one thing. When I was back in the association space, that was one thing that we had talked about often too, is that even if we're giving out free content, the benefit of membership is that you're supporting the community and you're supporting the education and the advocacy and all the efforts that go into again, supporting the profession that you're in. Um, so that's an interesting angle. It allows you to do the things that you need to support your patients or whoever it is the profession is supporting. All right. Being mindful of time, we've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Before we dive into the next question, if anyone has any, if you have a topic in mind for next month, again, we do these monthly. So if there's something that you guys are itching to talk about for next month, go ahead and either shout that out now, or you can go ahead and put it in the chat. And then while people are dropping in suggestions for that, any other questions, comments, concerns around? I think we kind of got off the topic of online platforms, which is totally okay. Because again, this is supposed to be a very organic, open-minded conversation. And so I actually love when we start with one topic and end on another. But if there's anything else that you guys want to ask about in regard to online engagement or anything beyond that, even if it's not related to that topic, feel free to speak now. We don't have any suggestions coming in the chat. You guys don't want to talk about anything next month? Oh, here we go, Donna. Profile updates. Ooh. Yeah, getting members to update their profile. That is a very good question. Anyone have suggestions for that now? Hearing none. All right. Any other topics for next time? Very talkative group at the end here. You guys did awesome though. A giveaway for profile. Giveaway for the profile of a. Okay, so Melissa, can you speak to that just a minute? What did that look like?
Yeah, we tried some just doing like email announcements and things like, we'll mail you one of our new mugs or kind of some merch items if they did things. And it did increase the engagement a little bit, but not as much as I had hoped. So we, you know, it's something. Maybe if we
Worth
would have been a
trying.
little bit more consistent with it and kind of kept it going, maybe, but it
Yeah.
wasn't anything that cost us anymore because it was things we already spent money on that were like left over. So it was just the shipping.
Yeah.
The biggest one we did was we did do a conference registration when our community launched. That one got pretty good traction because that was pretty high value. So, but we tried giveaways. I mean, you gotta do what you got to do to get people in there. It works for some.
Nice. I like that suggestion. Some type of incentive. All right. All right, folks. Anything else? We can go ahead and close this out a little bit early if no one has any other questions or thoughts that they want to chat about. Looks like Ken also offered an incentive to people. Nice. So Ken had said they offered a monthly prize, which is free registration to targeted contacts who updated their member profile. Helped to boost participation. Alrighty, folks. I won't keep you much longer then. Um, any other suggestions, questions, comments, concerns, feel free to send me an email. We will send out a recap and the recording of this. I will also, Jeff, if given your blessing, we will share the Canva document that you had also provided the group so that everyone has reference for that. And without further ado, I will give you guys the rest of your day back and we will see you next month. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for participating.